Okay, so we're starting a new topic today. So start a new page in your workbook and we're doing decimals. All right, so the first thing we're going to look at is decimal places. Decimal places are the digits after the decimal point. So when we create a decimal, we have things before the decimal point and things after the decimal point. The part before the decimal point is your whole number. The part after your decimal point is the part of a number. With fractions, you can simply see the fraction. With decimals, it's the bit after the decimal point. So if we look at this one, there's your decimal point, and we have 3 digits after the decimal point. So it has 3 decimal places. Now, when we're ordering decimals, so we might want to know which decimal's bigger than another one, which decimal's smaller than another one. Maybe I give you 4 or 5 decimals and say put them in order. So when we want to know which one's bigger than the other, we've got to list all the decimals down the page. We are very used to looking down the page with maths. We do all our working down the page, and it's much easier for you to see things when they're down the page than writing them across the page. And you'll see what I mean by that in a minute. So you've got to make sure that all the decimal points are lined up underneath each other and that all the digits line up. So that means the first decimal place after the decimal point, all of the first decimal places must be lined up. The second decimal place, all of those must be lined up. Then it makes it easy to compare later. So we've got to be nice and neat. All right, now, after we do that, you're going to look at the decimal with the most number of decimal places and make sure all the decimals have those same number of decimal places. So to do that, you're going to end up putting some zeros on the end of the numbers to fix that up, and I'll show you what that means in a minute. So looking at our first question here, underline what we're doing. We're finding how many decimal places. So this is pretty easy. We're looking at 1.65. After the decimal point, we have our decimal places, and in that one, we've got 2 decimal places. Okay, the next question, we're looking at the digits after the decimal point to get decimal places, and there are 3 of them this time. In the next one, we're doing the same thing. Look after the decimal point. Let's underline all the digits after the decimal point and count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 decimal places. Okay, so in the next question, we're going to be looking at putting things in order. So you'll notice over here, it says arrange in ascending order. So it's really important that you've got the idea of what ascending is. Ascending means to go up. All right, so we need to start with the smaller decimals and go up to the bigger decimals. So this is what they've given you, and as you can see, looking across at that, it looks like a bit of a mess. For me to try and find the smallest one, I've got a lot of digits and things. They're all flying around the page, and it's really hard to read what's happening. So what I'm doing is putting them down the page. Much easier to see what's going on. So here's our first decimal, 43.89. I've written that down. I've left space to the left and the right because I don't know what the other decimals are going to do. The next one is 56.324. So I've lined up my decimal point. The 56 goes under the 43, line it up neatly. Then we have 3, 2, and 4 will come over here because it's an extra decimal place. Now let's look at the next one, 9.998. So put your decimal point in order underneath the other ones. 9 in front of the decimal point goes under these ones here. Then 998 fills in those 3 decimal places after it. Same thing with 80.879, I've done that one. Now when you get to the 400, 400 doesn't have a decimal point. Anything that doesn't have a decimal point does actually have one, and it's right at the end. So it's a whole number of 400. So the decimal point is right at the end. You can write that in with a red pen to show you put that in. All right, then we have 23 lined up, decimal points lined up, 8, 9. And the last one, 56.314. And as you can see now, they're all lined up. And the most number of decimal places we have is 3. We have 3 in all of those and 3 down here. So I'm going to get my red pen and I'm going to fill in 3 decimal places in all the other ones. So to do that, I'm going to put zeros in. So this one's only got 2 decimal places. I'm going to put a 0 there to make 3 decimal places. Down here, there's none of them. So I'm going to put 3 zeros to make 3 decimal places. And in this one here, we've only got 2 decimal places, so we need another 0 there to make 3 decimal places. All right, now we're doing it in ascending order. So we want to find the smallest decimal. So to start with, you are not looking after the decimal point at all. We're just going to look at the whole numbers in before the decimal point. So we've got 43, 56, 9, 80, 400, 23 and 56. Pretty easy to see that 9 is our smallest. So I'm going to write number 1 next to that because that's the first one I'll be writing down. So after 9, the next smallest out of all of these things would be 23. So I'm going to write a number 2 next to that. Then the next one would be 43. So I'm going to put a 3 next to that. Then the next one, we've got 2 56s. Now this is where you have to think. Now once you've got 2 that are the same, that's when you have to go over to the things after the decimal point and look at what's going on over there. Now it's pretty easy. If you just underline what I've done with your red pen for these 2 and 56, and really we're just reading this number now. It says 324 and this one says 314. So which one's smaller? 314. So this one's going to come before the other one. That'll be number 4 and that'll be number 5. And then we've got 2 left. 80 is next and then 400, 6, 7. So now we've at least put them in order. They really want you to put them in order now, so I'm going to write these down. Now it doesn't matter if they're not down the page now, that's up to you. Number 1, number 2. Now, I'm not writing the red zeros on because they weren't there originally. Number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7, which was just 400, and that's the end of it. So that's it, putting it in order. So we're going to come back in the next video and do some more examples on this.